Ram Krishna Namaha. So, as you know, we have discussed in a very brief manner 5 of the 6 orthodox systems of Indian philosophy. Which are those 5? Nyaya Vaisheshika, Sankhya Yoga, and Purva Mimamsa. So now we will slowly approach Uttar Mimamsa, which is another name for Vedanta. Of course, at first we'll have only a very brief discussion of Vedanta, just so that we can appreciate and understand a little of the scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita. So, today is just an introduction towards that. So, what we'll be discussing today? 3 main points I will just share. So these are the 3 which we'll be discussing. First is relation of Vedanta to the Vedas. And second thing is the triple basis of Vedanta. In Sanskrit, those are called Prasthanatraya. Third is the 2 main divisions of the Hindu scriptures and their interrelation. So these 2 main divisions are called first Shruti and second Smriti. So all those things we will try to learn today, of course in a very brief manner, so that we can appreciate and understand the Vedanta philosophy proper when we start it. So, first is the relation of Vedanta to the Vedas. We have already discussed in brief the importance of the Vedas, what they are. So, Vedanta literally means, it is made up of 2 words, Veda plus Anta. Anta means end. So what comes at the end of the Vedas? Most of the Upanishads come at the end of the Vedas to which they belong. As you know, there are 4 main divisions of the Vedas: Rig, Sam, Yajur, Veda, Rig, Sam, Atharva and Yaju. So each of them has their own Upanishad. So generally they come at the end. But sometimes they are also placed somewhere in the middle. It is not that they will always be at the end. So here end, Anta actually means the culmination. Not literally that they will be at the end. In Sanskrit this is called Siddhanta. So Siddhanta actually very difficult to translate. So just to give an example, suppose a person discusses something for maybe half an hour, 1 hour. So then we ask him, okay, now all this discussion is over. Now, what is the conclusion? So he will maybe give the final, what he means to say, final summation or something. So this is called actually Siddhanta, but this is also not a very clear meaning. So the Siddhanta of the Vedas, loosely translated as culmination of the Vedas, is Vedanta. what finally the Vedas, what is the final word of the Vedas? In that way we can understand. And we have seen that the Vedas are the basic scriptures of the Indo-Aryans. The original Vedic texts and collected, they were classified by, supposed to be by Veda Vyasa. So actually, what is Hindu Dharma? What is it actually? It is actually the Vedic religion or the Vedika Dharma. Hindu in itself has no meaning at all. We have already discussed all that, of course, long ago. So this Vedanta is also called, or Hinduism is also called, the Vedika Dharma or the Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means which is eternal. So what do you mean by eternal religion? Eternal religion means that the truth which Hinduism upholds are eternal and universal. It is not that they will apply to one man and not to another. They will apply to all humankind for all time to come. It's not that they will be extinct or expired after some years, no. So that is the meaning of the term Sanatana. Now, 4 Vedas are there, Rik, Yaju, Sama and Atharva. Now, each of these Vedas consists of 2 main divisions. What are those? The Samhitas and the Brahmanas. These terms we have to be familiar with. Samhitas and the Brahmanas. What is Samhita? Samhita is a collection of mantras, hymns, prayers, formulas. There are hymns in praises of deities, then prayers, give us this, give us that, and formula which are used for invoking the deities and pouring the oblations in the fire, etc. Indraya Swaha, Varunaya Swaha, all that. So this is what the Samhitas consists of. And the Brahmana, what is it? Brahmana section is basically an explanatory treatise on the application of the mantras. It explains what is written in the Samhitas. And the Brahmanas are mostly in prose. So, to the Brahmanas proper were later added 2 things, Aranyakas and Upanishads. So, in a wide sense, the Brahmana section includes both of these. So, when you hear someone telling that Upanishads consists of Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas and Upanishads, we should remember that you can also say it in that way, or you can also say that they consist of Brahmanas and Samhitas because the Aranyakas and Upanishads are nothing but a part of the Brahmanas. Now what do these terms mean? Aranyaka. The beauty of Sanskrit language is this, each term is derived from a basic root which has a connection to the meaning. It's not just arbitrary. From the word itself, we can get an idea of the meaning. What is Aranyaka? Now, Aranyaka comes from the word Aranya. Aranya means forest. So, they were taught and studied in the forest. By who? By the Vanaprasthis. So, we know the 4 ashramas, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, finally Sannyasa. So, Vanaprastha means those who have done their duties. They have led a family life, they are married of their children, or their children are adults and they can maintain themselves. So, they are free now. So, Hindu Shastras say that when you have reached that stage, Enough of worldly life for you. You are not supposed to attend parties and go to restaurants at all. Not at all. Yeah. You are supposed to now think of the final goal of your life. So you should, Aranya, forest means a secluded place. Somewhere where you can be silent. Your son and daughter won't be ringing you every minute and all that. But if you want all that, naturally, you will not go to a silent place. So that type of place is called forest, just to make us understand. And those who go there, so another name for forest is Vana. So from Vana comes Vanaprastha, means going to the forest means going to some silent place, leaving all your worldly attachments behind, and trying to lead a very simple life based on noble thoughts. That was the aim. And of course, finally comes sannyasa. So now, that is why the term Aranyaka comes from the forest. And last comes the Upanishads. Another name for Vedanta is Upanishad. So Upanishad, what does it signify? It signifies the knowledge of the ultimate reality, which is also called Brahman. The knowledge which is received by a deserving pupil from a qualified teacher. So if both are exceptional, if the student is also exceptional and the teacher is also qualified, then the ignorance of that student is removed. When that ignorance is removed, ignorance is the root cause of all our bondages and sufferings. We have seen in the Yoga Sutras, Ajnana is the root cause. So when that is removed, knowledge dawns of itself, because knowledge is not created. When all the obstacles are removed, knowledge manifests of its own accord. So this is what the Upanishads mean, and they are only meant to be studied by seekers of liberation, those who really want that knowledge. They are finished with all their small and petty desires. They have had enough of that. They have realized that there is nothing in that. It's all hollow. So only those persons are fit to study the Upanishads. Others, even if they study, they can study all they like, they can even lecture, no problem at all, but they won't be able to understand anything. They won't be able to understand the essence, not even 1%. Now, there are many Upanishads. Generally, it is said that there are 108 Upanishads. Tradition goes like that. But 10 are considered very important. And those 10 have been commented on by the great Shankaracharya and also some other saints. So when we study, we will know Isha, Kena, Katha, Mandukya, Mundaka, all these are there. Katha is very, very lengthy and very important. And once you study the Katha Upanishads, most of you know what is there in most of the other Upanishads also. Like among the Puranas, if you study the Bhagavata Purana, you have a very good idea of what is there in other Puranas. It is the very lengthy Bhagavata Purana, the whole life story of Sri Krishna. Of course, very, very interesting. So, this is about the Upanishads. Now, another name for Upanishads is nothing but Vedanta, we have seen. Another name for Upanishads is Shruti Shira. What does Shruti mean? Shruti means what is heard. So in olden days, what happened was, all these things were heard by a teacher. The teacher used to recite, the students used to hear. So that is why in course of time, the whole of the Vedas came to be known as Shruti, what is heard. Now Shira means crown, that is the crest, ultimate. So Shruti Shira means what is the ultimate knowledge conveyed by the Vedas. That is the Vedanta or the Upanishads. Beyond that there is nothing. So this much about the relation of Vedanta to the Vedas. So I'll just share the image so that we can have an idea. So you can see here Vedanta relation to the Vedas. Vedas consists of Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishads. Samhita is a collection of mantras. Brahmana is just an explanation of those hymns or prayers, etc., application of the mantras. Aranyaka typically represent the later section of the Vedas, and they describe and discuss rituals from various perspectives, and some include philosophical speculations also. Like one of the most important and largest, biggest Upanishads, that is called Brihad Aranyaka. So that is actually a part of the Aranyaka. And fourth is Upanishads. Upanishad signifies the knowledge of the ultimate reality which eradicates ignorance, the root cause of all our misery, all our suffering. So we should remember here that the Samhita is the primary part of the Vedas. This is a collection of mantras, hymns, etc. Now, some mantras were like hymns chanted for the invocation of the deity. So those are called Rik mantras. Rik means one of the Vedas, Rik. Some mantras were recited by pouring oblations into the fire like this, Indraya Swaha, Varunaya Swaha, all that. Those are in prose and they are called Yaju mantras. Some were like songs which were sung in praise of the deity. Those are known as Sama mantras. So in each of the four Vedas, there are these three types of mantras: Rik mantras, Yaju mantras and Sama mantras. In the Rig Veda, there is a preponderance of Rik mantras. In the Yajur Veda, there is the preponderance of Yaju mantras. And in the Sama Veda, more of the Sama mantras can be found. And in the Atharva, there are those mantras plus other mantras as well. So actually in the whole of the Vedas, there are three types of mantras. That is why the four Vedas are also known as Trayi. Trayi means triad because there are these three types of mantras in the Vedas. So why I am telling this? Because when we start the study of the scriptures, all these terms will come. Shruti. The Shruti says this. Shankaracharya will tell us. So what does Shruti mean? We should know that Shruti means the Vedas. Trayi, if it comes. What is Trayi? Trayi means the Vedas. Another name for Vedas is, sometimes Vedas are also called Agamas. Agama means those which are handed down to us by tradition. Guru Shishya, Guru Shishya. Nobody can even dream of studying Vedas by himself. That is unthought of. It is only transmitted from a Guru. It cannot be grasped otherwise. So, this much about the type of mantras and the various names of the Vedas, Shruti, Trayi, etc. Now, subject matter. From the standpoint of the subject matter, so we have divided the Vedas, Rig, Sam, Yaju and all according to the mantras, according to their the type of mantras which they have. Now, if we want to do that on the basis of subject matter, what will it be? Then the Vedas can be divided into two parts. What are those parts? First is the work section and the second is the knowledge section. So work section, the section is called Karma Kanda. Work means what? Work means any type of action which is done here with a view to getting the results. I do a sacrifice. Why? I won't do something for nothing. So I want something. There are sacrifices for getting a sun, for getting rain in times of drought. All these are there. So when we want something, then those things can be found in Karma Kanda. Those actions which will give us a particular result. And the knowledge section deals with those principles and those teachings which will lead us to the ultimate knowledge of God or Brahman or whatever you call it. And some persons say that there are three sections, that is Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda and Jnana Kanda. Upasana means meditation. So there are two views, no problem, both mean the same thing. So Upanishads, it goes without saying, they comprise the knowledge section and everything else comes under the work section, that is the karma. And knowledge here means not knowledge of any worldly subject, history, geography, etc. Here knowledge means the direct knowledge of the ultimate reality. So that is called the supreme knowledge, which is also in Sanskrit it is called Paravidya. All other vidyas, all other subjects are termed as Aparavidya. That is also knowledge. Or when we have a technical knowledge or engineering knowledge or any other knowledge, that is also knowledge, but it is called lower knowledge. It is not the supreme knowledge. Supreme knowledge is only one, knowledge of the eternal reality. So, all the other knowledge of sacrifices, ceremonies, duties of life, etc., those are very much necessary. But that should lead to the ultimate knowledge, otherwise it has no use. This is the thing. Now, what is the connection between these two sections, Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda, the knowledge section and the work section? Well, there must be some relation because both of them belong to the Vedas. So relation is that the work section leads to the knowledge section. Work section is the first step. Like when we enter the school, we start from the lower grades. Then slowly progress and we get some sort of degree. So the lower grades, lower classes are only meant to prepare us for the final classes. If our aim is to get a PhD in something, we will start from the lower classes only. But our aim is to get that doctorate. So here also, the Karma Kanda is not the goal in itself. The scriptures don't say, Gita and Upanishads, they don't say that Karma Kanda is sufficient for you in your life. There is nothing more to be achieved. Not at all. Karma Kanda is there, but if it does not lead to something higher of itself, it is of no use. Because it will only give you something which is temporary, ephemeral. It will come and go. In the end, it will leave you empty-handed. Nothing will remain. So that cannot be the goal. The goal is to achieve something which is eternal. Once when we achieve that, it can never leave us. And that knowledge can only be had from the Upanishads, which is called the Vedanta. Now, Vedanta is also used in a wide sense to cover all the sacred texts that have the Upanishads as their basis and which elucidate the teachings of the Upanishads. So not only the Upanishads, but also the texts which help us to understand the Upanishads better, which are just an extension of the Upanishads, so to say, they are also a part of Vedanta. Like the Bhagavad Gita, which Swami Vivekananda says is the best commentary on Vedanta which has been written and which can be written. That is the most significant term. There can be nothing better than that. So it is considered a part of Vedanta, although strictly it is under Smriti. We will see that. And another text, very important text, is the Brahma Sutras, which is also included under Vedanta. So now we come to the third point of our discussion today, which was the triple basis of Vedanta. What is the foundation? What is the rock on which Vedanta stands? So the three pillars, so to say. Now these three pillars, they supplement each other. They don't contradict each other. If anything contradicts the Vedas or the Upanishads, it has no place in Hinduism at all. Because Hinduism means Vedika Dharma. The principles which are mentioned in the Vedas, those form the basis. So if you contradict the Vedas, naturally you are out of the Vedika Dharma, you are out of the Vedic religion itself. So the three pillars or the standard works on Vedanta, which form the basis of the whole Vedanta philosophy, are what we have just seen. First and most important, the Upanishads. Second is the Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras, what do they do? See, anyway, we will discuss that later. Just first we should see what are the three things. First is Upanishads, the Brahma Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita. These three. So these form the triple basis. In Sanskrit it is called Prasthanatraya. Prasthanatraya means the threefold norm. Now see, what is the relation between these three, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutras? See, Upanishads are just revelations. They consist of supersensuous truths revealed to the rishis. We have already seen who the rishis were. Rishis were mantra drashtaraha, who had a vision of those mantras, Vedika mantras, in their divine experiences. Those are the rishis. So they just expressed their realization. There was no argument, no debate. It is just an expression that this is what I have experienced. So there is no speculation or any well-defined philosophy, etc. They are just revelations of our saints and sages. They just tell us, yes, this is what I have experienced. Now what happens in course of time, the need arose of systemizing the Upanishadic statements. Suppose we want to know what is God. The term Ishvara will appear in the Upanishads, Brahman will appear. Now if someone asks, okay, according to the Upanishads, what is Ishvara? What is the nature of Brahman? What is creation? What is liberation? What is bondage? So to answer these questions, the whole contents of the Upanishads had to be systemized. Where will you go for answers to those questions? If there is a systematic gradation and division in subject matter of all these topics, it is very easy to have the answer to those questions. And sometimes we will also see contradictory statements, apparently contradictory. Now, if there are contradictory statements, then how can they be reconciled? What do they actually mean? So, when the need arose for this, then the Brahma Sutras were written. So, it is just, what does Brahma Sutra do? It is a rational interpretation of these transcendental truths which are mentioned in the Upanishads. Now, various attempts were made to present the Upanishadic truths in terms of reason, but unfortunately today none of those are available except Vyasa's Brahma Sutras. That is the only one which is available. So this forms, the Brahma Sutra forms the basis of Vedanta as a rational philosophy and is very highly esteemed as authoritative by all schools of Vedanta. Dualism, qualified non-dualism, Advaita, everybody. And the great Shankaracharya has written a very beautiful and very detailed commentary on the Brahma Sutras. Ramanuja, he has also written. So, this is about the Upanishads and their relation to the Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras systemizes the philosophy of the Upanishads. So, needless to say, unless we first study the Upanishads, we have no clue to what the Brahma Sutras are saying. So, it has to go in a graded way. Now, what about Bhagavad Gita, the third pillar? See, Upanishadic truths are there. Rishis realized something. That whole thing has been systemized into a philosophy. Done. But if you cannot apply the philosophy in your life, then there is no use. There has to be a practical side. So, the Bhagavad Gita dwells on the practical side. That yes, you have read about those truths, you have studied philosophy. Now, how to apply those truths in your practical life, in your active life. So this forms the third stage of Vedanta, that of applied truths. Upanishad constitute the mystical portion of the Vedanta, those supersensuous experiences. They were rationalized in the Brahma Sutras, and the practical application was shown in the Bhagavad Gita. This is the relation between these three. So in Sanskrit these are called Shruti Prasthana, Nyaya Prasthana and Smriti Prasthana, but I won't disturb you by too many Sanskrit terms. Once we study again and again, those will slowly soak in, so it will be no problem. So now, all the schools of Vedanta, we should know, are grounded on this triple foundation. There is no school which does not accept these three. So these three give a complete picture. We find the system of Vedanta mysticism is harmonized with rationality, and the philosophy of life is allied with the way of life, the practical application. This is the thing. So this is the second point of our discussion today, the triple basis of Vedanta. Now the third and final topic we have seen. What was that? The two main divisions of the Hindu scriptures. So these are very basic things what we are discussing today. We should always remember those. Two main divisions. So now we have seen that before the Vedas were committed to writing, they were transmitted orally through an unbroken line of Guru Shishya, teacher and disciples. That is why they were called Shruti. Literally, hearing or what is heard. So the term Shruti signifies direct knowledge or the truths revealed to the supersensuous perception of the seers. Shruti means Vedas. So this term Shruti is used to distinguish the Vedic texts from the other Hindu scriptures. It is not that Hinduism only consists of the Vedas, no other scripture. The amount of scriptures in Hinduism, my goodness, we cannot have an idea. There are so many. So, not all of them are the Vedas. Not all of them form a part of the Vedas. Bhagavata Purana, other Puranas. So, what do they come under? What to call them? Those are called Smritis. What is remembered or remembering? So, Shruti, what is heard, that means the Vedas. Smriti means all other scriptures other than the Vedas. So Smriti signifies indirect knowledge, while the Shruti or the Vedas signify direct knowledge. So Vedas are not composed by anybody, let alone human beings, not even by God. They are eternally existing. But Smritis are human compositions. And they are authentic as far as they agree with the Vedas. If some Smriti does not agree with the Vedas, you are out. No place for you. So that is why when one disciple asked Swami Vivekananda that what do we consider the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna? It has come directly from an incarnation of God. Are they the Vedas? No. Swami Vivekananda said no. Any human agency is involved, it cannot be Vedas. So, it is a commentary on the Vedas. This is Smriti, and some terms as I said, we should remember. So, Smritis are also called Dharma Shastras. That is to say, the scriptures dealing with social and moral observances. And of course, religious rites, spiritual disciplines, these are there. So the many types of Smritis are there. Manu Smriti is the most famous. There is a whole, that one wonderful person, P.V. Kane, he has written a momentous, how anyone can write that in one lifetime. That is called The History of the Dharma Shastras by P.V. Kane. If you see that book, just seeing it is enough to give you a headache. So these wonderful persons have done so much. They have made available all these things so readily for us. So Smritis are also called Dharma Shastras, the institutes of law, social and moral codes by Manu, Yagyavalkya, Parashara. All these are very famous names. Manu Smriti, Yagyavalkya Smriti, Parashara Smriti. Then the two epics we know, Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And the other systems of philosophy which we have studied a little, the Sankhya and the Yoga, the Tantras, Shaivas, Vaishnavas, Shaktas, all these come under Smriti. Devi Bhagavatam, the main Chandi, scriptures of the Shaktas, Vishnu Purana, scriptures of the Vaishnavas, all under Smriti. So in short, to quote Manu himself, in the Manu Smriti itself is given the definition between Shruti and Smriti in very simple words. What is that? By Shruti is meant the Vedas, and by Smriti the Dharma Shastras. Very simple. This we should remember. So these terms we should remember. First, the relation of the Vedas to the Vedanta. Veda plus Anta means Vedanta, that which comes at the end. Not all the Upanishads come right at the end. So this means the culmination of the Vedas, the ultimate teachings of the Vedas. Then we have discussed the three pillars or the Prasthana Traya of Vedanta. What are those? First the Upanishads, then the systemization of what is given in the Upanishads as a philosophy. That systemization has been done in the Brahma Sutras, and the practical application which is given in the Bhagavad Gita. And finally, the relation, the two types of scriptures which are there in the Hinduism, the two main divisions. What are those? Vedas and those which are not part of the Vedas. But they don't contradict the Vedas. This we should always remember. Smritis nothing can contradict the Vedas. So Smritis explain the Vedas, try to transmit the message of the Vedas through easier methods, like stories and all that, like the Bhagavata, Purana, Mahabharata, all those. And some deal more with social laws, like the Manu Smriti, etc. So, in the wide sense, the term Smriti includes even the four systems of philosophy, Purva Mimamsa, etc., Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and all the 18 Puranas, and the scriptures of all other sects of Hinduism, Shakta, Vaishnava, all those things. So this much for the two divisions of the Vedas. So these three topics we have studied today, just a summary. And these terms we should all remember. Shruti, Smriti, Prasthanatraya, Brahma Sutra. If somebody asks us what is the Brahma Sutra, we should know what are the Brahma Sutras. So, just in point form, you can see here. First, Vedanta means the culmination of the Vedas it also means suprasensuous knowledge, which is the knowledge which is beyond the world, beyond the sense organ, knowledge which sense organs give. That knowledge can only be had through the Vedas, through Vedanta. And in a wide sense, it is used to cover all the texts which have the Upanishads as their basis, like the Brahma Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, etc. So Hindu, what does Hindu mean? Hindu itself has no meaning. It has come from the word river Sindhu. So what is Hinduism? Hinduism means it is Vedika Dharma. Many Hindus, if you ask them, what does being a Hindu mean? They won't be able to tell. What is the basis of your religion? What is the fundamental beliefs? They won't be able to tell. Because it is no way related to the term Hinduism. So we should know that a Hindu is one whose religion is the religion of the Vedas. And third point, from the standpoint of subject matter, the Vedas can be divided into two parts: Karma Kanda, the work portion which we have seen in the Purva Mimamsa. So Purva Mimamsa says that everything is work only. They say that even Upanishads teach us work. There is nothing known as knowledge which is beyond the whole sense perception, nothing like that. So work portion and knowledge portion. Work portion consists of all those sacrifices, etc. And knowledge portion is the knowledge of the ultimate reality. And the three standard works or the Prasthana Traya of the Vedanta are what? Upanishads, Brahma Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita. And two broad divisions, Shruti and Smriti. Vedas are the Shruti, while the scriptures dealing with the social and moral observances and which tell us of spiritual practices, etc., these are called Smriti. Smriti, although they are different, but they are based on the Vedas. They never contradict the Vedas. So this much knowledge is necessary before we start just a brief introduction to the Vedanta. So once we have a brief idea of Vedanta, then we can start the study of the Bhagavad Gita, because we should know what is the aim of the Bhagavad Gita. What is the final aim? So now we have seen that Bhagavad Gita very much forms a part of the Vedanta. So, see, in our scriptures, it is so systematic that it is unbelievable. When we go deeper, we will find whenever they study something, before starting the study, they ask some questions. What is the aim of the study? Who should be studying this? All these questions are there. That is, I've forgotten the Sanskrit name, I think Anubandha Chatushtaya or something like that it is called. So before we start the study of this Bhagavad Gita or Upanishad, we should know what is the goal and for whom these scriptures have been written. It is not for everybody. Actually, it is for the very, very few, the rarest of the rare, who can really assimilate these scriptures. We don't belong to that category right now, but still, whatever we get from that will help us go forward in our spiritual journey, because we have to start from somewhere. So that is why these terms we should be familiar with. So that is the plan which I have been working under since I came here. I had a plan in mind. So if you just see what are the things we have done, you will know that we are going step by step. So now we have covered a lot of ground, So 5 systems of philosophy, we have just had a brief introduction. Sankhya, we went into detail because a knowledge of Sankhya is very much necessary for the Gita. So now we are coming to the final stages. So after we get an introduction to the Vedanta, we can regularly start our study of the Bhagavad Gita and also some of Swami Vivekananda's detailed works, which goes into great depth, like Karma Yoga, etc. Now, Karma Yoga, if you start right at the beginning, then we don't have an idea. What is the goal of Karma Yoga? The goal is same as that of Vedanta. So all these things will be easier to grasp when we have a brief idea of the Vedantic principles. What do they say about the soul, God, aim of human life, etc. So this is the thing. So let us end here today. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri